Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Today, we're going to be covering live the Adam Montgomery sentencing. It's going to be happening in New Hampshire under Judge Amy Messer's courtroom, the same judge who heard him on his weapons charge and also the murder trial of Harmony Montgomery. Hey, we are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related, you're in the right spot. Please hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and this guy in Morocco, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, Ed, how you doing tonight? Today, it actually is tonight for you, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's after 5 p.m. here.
Yeah, so last night I did a preview. Adam Montgomery, as we call him, the demon scumbag, found guilty on all charges, and he is facing his sentence today. I just wanted to get your thoughts. We know he's in the courtroom. He's in the cells behind the courthouse. Your thoughts before Judge Messer comes out. And she's got to be pretty pissed because he disrespected not only her, but the courts and the victim here, no?
Yes, absolutely. You know, he refused to show up for trial. He said that when he pled not guilty, that he was looking forward to his trial and proving himself innocent. But yet he never had the cojones to show up in court and sit there and face the witnesses that testified against him. Okay. And so, you know, as I said earlier in the chat, where today is about man's justice, but I can't wait till he meets the judges of judges and gets the real justice that he deserves.
Amen to that, brother. And I'm monitoring all of the feeds on my different monitors. I'm in my office. Ed is in Morocco, and I'm thankful. And we all give thanks to you, Ed, for taking out the time on your downtime. I know you spent the whole day teaching in Morocco, and you're doing God's work over there. And thank you for everything that you do. And stay safe, as you always say. We want you to stay safe there. But, this goes a little bit further because we talked last night a little bit, Ed, and I don't know if you caught the replay, but you and I have spoke on this before. Harmony's half brother, same mom, biologically, same mom, but a different father, not Adam Montgomery's son, but Crystal Sorey. This is her son. They were both put into foster care, and the Miller family, they adopted Harmony's brother Jameson, and he was asking questions about his sister, and the judge in this case, well, not necessarily the judge, but as per New Hampshire state law, only the victims can give their statements. And if they're underage or unable to, the statement has to be written out and then read in court by the parents or by an authority in the family. A lot of uproar on that, and we'll get into it. But 7-year-old Jameson is heartbroken. The kid is asking about what happened to his sister, and so many things going on here. I think that the laws should be changed, and they should allow the parents or an adult that's competent to get up there. Kid can't really express their feelings at that age. So I just wanted to get what your thoughts were on that, Ed.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, right now, Jameson doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's saying things like, I hope to see you and all this stuff. So it appears to me that his adopted parents haven't filled him in on, this. And so, that's a lot of trauma for somebody that age to take in, and so you got to be worried about their mental health and dealing with that, and how do you break that to this child, so it's a very touchy situation. I don't think it's appropriate at this time to subject him to this when he's a little older and can comprehend a little better and can handle the emotions that will be coming his way, maybe.
Yeah, and I agree. I see a lot of people in the chat like, how can you explain this to a 7-year-old child? And Jameson was younger, much younger when this was all going, and it looks like the parents are trying to lightly tell him that she's no longer here and she's in heaven. And we'll play a little clip from that. But I wanted to play this piece. I played it last night. I think it's a good piece. This gives you the overview of where we are from the beginning till now, and this is courtesy of WMUR 9. I'm watching the court feed, so the court is not live. As soon as the court comes up, we'll go to it. But just let's take a listen to this.
New Year's Eve 2021, Manchester police launches a missing persons investigation for a 7-year-old who was last seen 2 years prior. Her name, Harmony Montgomery. The department desperate for help to find her.
I'm imploring, I'm asking, even I'll go as far as I'm begging the community.
Within days, pictures of the little girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a bright smile were plastered on billboards and posters. Everyone holding out hope that Harmony would be found, including her mother, Crystal Sorey, who first sounded the alarm after she says the girl's father, Adam Montgomery, who had sole custody, cut all communication. She sat down with News 9 this week.
Very scary, helpless time in my life.
In August of 2022, the news no one wanted.
Harmony Montgomery was murdered in Manchester in early December of 2019.
They sat me down and they told me that she was deceased.
2 months later, Harmony's own father was arrested for her murder. It would be another 2 years until Adam Montgomery got his day in court. The trial lasted weeks. Dozens of witnesses took the stand, including Adam's estranged wife, Kayla, who detailed how her husband killed his daughter.
He was just punching her repetitively in the head. He folded her in half and put her in the double bag.
For Crystal Sorey, the testimony was agonizing to hear.
It was really hard for me because most of my tears were out of anger. Because there is no excuse in this world.
A jury convicted Adam Montgomery of second-degree murder and other charges.
Certainly, this is not the first murder of a child, but because of the way it got first brought to the public's attention, I think it did get a lot of publicity and a lot of attention that perhaps maybe a similar case would not receive.
Sentencing recommendations filed by the state are asking for Montgomery to serve a total of 56 years to life.
The state can make their recommendations, the defense can make their recommendations, but and they may agree on sentencing, but the judge ultimately has the decision.
Harmony's remains have never been found. News 9 Investigates has learned that Manchester police were recently back at a marsh in Revere, Massachusetts, in the same area where a search happened last year. Investigators used a drone to search that area. The video will be analyzed, and it's expected that a larger scale search will take place in the coming months. Sorey says she's okay if Adam receives a reduced sentence for information about what he did to Harmony's remains, although she's unsure if Montgomery would agree to it.
That's the saddest part is I know how sick he is. I know that he'll never give up her location, but I know that I'll never give up. So I'll find her.
The question now is, will Adam Montgomery appear for sentence?
Basically, Ed, we already know the answer. He did appear. He is there. I wanted to go to you about some of Kayla Montgomery's testimony, Ed, and you and I covered this. We were all over this. She talked about Adam Montgomery beating her about the face in the vehicle that they were in because she soiled herself a few times. And she talked about him folding her and putting her in that duffel bag. I mean, Kayla Montgomery wouldn't, in my opinion, would have never spoke up if she didn't feel like her life was going to be spent behind bars. And she turned as a key witness for the prosecution and got this deal. And Ed, she's out right now, walking free. She's out, walking amongst us. And I know that your thoughts on this, we all want to hear it.
Well, she's highly culpable as well, and she was given in my opinion, she was given a sweetheart deal, and she took advantage of it and got herself out of prison. And she's not being held responsible for her actions or the lack thereof. In my opinion, I think she should still be in jail.
I agree wholeheartedly, because just based on the testimony, she was there with him inside the homeless shelter where they stayed. Room number 1. I'll never forget that. Room number 1. That's where he took Harmony's remains and put her in the tub to try to get the liquids. I don't remember how she described it, Ed. You might know, you might remember better than I did, but it sounded like she was keeping the kids away, but she helped him cut her clothes off while she was in that bathtub. And she clogged the tub.
Let's go back further than that, right? All right. So they're out in front of a methadone clinic, and he kills his own blood there. He kills his child. And she witnesses this, and she said she made some half-hearted attempt to try to stop him and became fearful because of her 2 children. But she stayed in that car and drove to Burger King.
And got high.
And got high after the methadone clinic, got high and ate Burger King with a dead child in the back seat next to her children.
Yeah, look, Ed, I'm seeing the chat, and you're bringing this stuff up. It's making my blood boil. It is, in my opinion, Kayla Montgomery should spend a great deal of time behind bars, 20 or more years. And I don't even think that would be sufficient. She certainly shouldn't be out in society mingling amongst children. She has kids of her own. You know what's going to happen, Ed. There's a high chance, there's a high probability that Kayla Montgomery is going to get out. She's going to reoffend, and she's going to turn to drugs. I hope that it's not true, but she shouldn't get the chance to be out there. Harmony didn't get a second chance, and she damn well wasn't helping the police until the prosecutor told her, "You're looking at life in prison if you don't come clean." And then she finally came clean.
This is what happens when 2 drug-addicted parents get together, have a child, have no support, have no income, and then this poor child, was taken away from the biological mother, as she should be. Okay, she should be, because the biological mother was unfit mother and couldn't care for this child. But the judge should have never given this child to that animal. Okay, and there was a loving family who had her brother, her biological brother, who wanted her. All right, she'd be alive today if that judge would have given that child to that family. All right.
100%, Ed. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And to call him an animal is doing him a favor. He is a demon. This is demonic to do this to your own flesh and blood, to do this to anybody for that matter. I want to go to the chat, #Ed, #DutyRon. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, the channel members, the mod squad, all of the folks who buy us cups of coffee. There's been several of you who've been doing that lately. Thank you for that. And also, I want to just say thank you to the replay viewers, because they're the heartbeat of this community. They're part of, just as much as part of the live chatters, because a lot of people are in different time zones. So we have to, acknowledge our folks internationally that, it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, their time, but they do come around in the mornings and they watch those replays. So thank you to our Aussie friends, our people outside of the United States that are on different time zones. And I wanted to play this because this is the parents, the adoptive parents, Jonathan and Blair. That's Jameson's their adoptive parents. And they made a statement a while ago, but they also currently, last night, they aired on, I believe it was a CBS affiliate. They aired a piece, and it was really, it was gut-wrenching. So as we wait for the Court TV or WMUR to come up with this live feed, I want to play this for you guys. But again, it is gut-wrenching when you hear this, and this is about Jamison. So let's take a listen.
Montgomery will be sentenced for the killing of his daughter, Harmony.
Now, we are expecting victim impact statements, but as WBZ's Beth Romano tells us, not everyone affected by Harmony's death will be allowed to speak.
His voice was silenced for so long. Harmony's voice was silenced.
The adoptive father of Harmony Montgomery's 7-year-old brother, Jamison, speaking out the day before Adam Montgomery is sentenced for the little girl's murder. Outraged, a judge is limiting victim impact statements from him and his husband, Blair Miller, about the boy's trauma.
They're saying that we cannot speak on Jamison's behalf. It has to be his exact words related to the murder.
And the murder and
this is what I was talking about, Ed. How can you rely on a 7-year-old to give a victim impact statement? It's just ridiculous, and to not allow his own parents who are raising him to put in their own words what they view as adults of what their child is going through, I think would be fair. And the judge has the opportunity to make an exception here. So there may be a possibility last minute she says, I'm going to allow you to make a statement, but I'm not so sure because I wasn't watching it that closely to see what the rulings were. But yeah, I mean, it's a travesty of justice to silence the adults who are, the parents who are taking care of the victims here. And the victims are the people who are left behind, and that includes Jamison.
brutality is something Jonathan Miller says Jamison has yet to comprehend. His understanding of why she's gone is much different.
Is she in heaven? Is she safe? What happened to her glasses?
But according to the New Hampshire Attorney General, the court allows victims.
All right, I'm going to stop it because it looks like the court is coming up. So I want to go to it real quick while we're here, guys. Hold on, stand by. Here it is. And they were just showing some people filing in. I want to just back it up a little bit. So this was just moments ago from Court TV. It looks like a packed courtroom, folks. And I'll go back just a little bit. So I didn't go ahead.
While we're waiting for this to kick off, we use the public service announcement. If you see something, say something. And that was, originally designed for terrorism, but it could be used in this case as well. How many people knew that this child was in harm's way and knew it? They saw it and did nothing. Okay, for fear of him or for fear of the family's sake or whatever the case may be. There were plenty of opportunities here to save this child, and every time and along the way that those opportunities arose, it failed. This child was failed at every turn, and including that so-called child service worker who let her drive off with her dad after the uncle made an anonymous complaint about her being attacked.
Yeah, the DCYF worker, who turned post office, a letter carrier, he got up. I highlighted that last night. For those of you who are in the chat, if you saw that, put a 1 in the chat. Let us know that you saw the coverage. I was outraged by it, and I actually took 10 minutes to highlight the deficiencies, how that person, that DCYF worker, was the last person that had a chance to save Harmony Montgomery's life, and he failed to do it. Look at all the ones in the chat. Angela S., our good friend from Long Island, she just put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to put a 1 in the chat because we were all there. And when this trial was active, Ed, you and I spent a good 20 minutes talking about this guy and highlighting his nonchalant, non-caring attitude. That's to add insult to injury to our tiny little victim here, who is
I don't know
Harmony
how
Montgomery.
I don't know how that guy sleeps at night. Honestly, I do not know how he sleeps at night.
I do not know either. So I feel so strongly that the system is broken, and we had people who worked, former employees who worked in DCYF, that they came on with us and they told us we have sometimes 10 or 15 minutes to make a decision. I remember this from the trial. They kept focusing on that. Can you make out what that is? Is that like some kind of it's some kind of wooden, I'm not sure, but this isn't Judge Messer's.
Is it flowers or a butterfly? What is that?
I wish
have
I
no
could
idea.
get in. It looks like a wooden stand with a bark up to me and some flowers coming off of it. Anybody knows what that is in the chat, but I remember this from Judge Messer's courtroom. So she's going to take the bench. I hope she doesn't forget the disrespect that Adam Montgomery showed her. And she was, oh man, she had such patience. She was like talking to the bailiff saying, well, let us know if Adam wants to come tomorrow because we have to send transportation. We have to make arrangements for transportation. That got me so mad. And let us know in the replay in the comment section or here in the live chat. Did that really piss you off? Because guess what, folks? I was livid when I was hearing her saying, "Oh, just let us know if you want to be here." You know, like, come on, give me a break. So I'm gonna follow that feed real quick, and I gotta share something. But I do want to say this. You know, whoops. Okay, that's audio from the court. So what do you got? What do you got on the screen, Ed?
Mrs. JMD, you're never invisible. Nobody puts Mrs. JMD in the corner.
Oh, hell no. If I was home, I would have hit the oh, hell no button on that one, Ed. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. I'm doing something on the side. So, Ed, you got the whole show here.
Yeah, you know, you have the two biological parents and you have such dysfunction amongst the extended family here, the mother, the uncles, and whatever the case may be. This poor child didn't have a chance. Okay, then the government, whose job it is to protect her, failed at every turn, and here we are now, and he still won't give up the location of where he deposited this poor baby. Okay, I mean, you're going away for life. Okay, what at this point in time? Why can't you give up this location? Why? Other than the fact that you're pure evil? It makes no sense to me why he hasn't come forward and say, you know, this is where I deposited poor Harmony, so that we can go out there hopefully and find her. Now, did he put her in a location where her body would have went to the incinerator? We don't know, but he knows. And there's no reason for him not to tell at this point. Okay, you know, give this poor child the respect that she deserves, that she never got from you in her death, that you never gave her in her life. Let her bury this child appropriately and send her on her way to God.
Amen to that, Ed. And you know, the chat's going wild right now. There's so many different things, and one of the questions is there's no death penalty? ? We would think, you know, if there was a death penalty on the books in the state of New Hampshire, unfortunately, it hasn't been on the books in a long, long time. But thank you for that question, Truth to Light. It's not even in the cards, but this guy deserves to be put down. If anybody deserves to be put down, this is the guy. Super chat came in from our good friend Jeff in Wyoming, and he says,
"Hey Jeff,
Ed and Ron. Every time this little angel's picture is shown, I start to weep. Then I cuss. A blue streak. I'm concerned about the little brother. Yeah. It's concerning. Jameson has to live the rest of his life.
Well, he's away from all that dysfunction, and he's got a loving family now that's taking care of him. And so, kudos to them for saving this child.
Yeah, 100%. While we're waiting, I'm watching all the feeds. I want to play this little piece because this one was pretty good because it gave you a little overview on potentially what we could see here today. So this is again from our WMUR affiliate 9 local in New Hampshire.
You're going to probably see a lot of tears and just a lot of grief expressed to the court.
An emotional day is expected in a Manchester courtroom on Thursday when Adam Montgomery is sentenced for killing his 5-year-old daughter Harmony back in 2019.
The court can see how this crime has impacted the victims and obviously the victim's family.
Prosecutors are asking for a sentence of 56 years to life in prison after Montgomery was found guilty in February of second-degree murder and other charges. He's already serving up to 60 years in an unrelated weapons case.
If the state gets its request, then he's looking at probably the rest of his life in prison.
Montgomery will have to appear in person.
Yeah, don't forget, Ed, he's already serving a sentence of 60 years, up to 60 years. So if he does good time, he may do 50. It might be a 50-year sentence, but he's in his 40s. So 50 and 40, we can do the math there. That's just on those gun charges. It takes him into his later years. And in prison, you don't age well. You don't get the proper health care. You don't get, you're not eating properly and so forth. So prison definitely does not age you well. So barring the 50-year sentence, if he does good time, 60 years total. And now she throws another 50 on to him here. If that's the minimum, 50 to life, 56 to life. This man right here will rot inside his cage. And hopefully jailhouse justice may prevail. You never know. I'm not saying I hope for that, even though I just said hopefully. What do you think, Ed?
No, he's staying in for life, absolutely. And I love the fact that he's wearing yellow and not like prison orange, because the yellow, as we all know, is cowardice, because that's what he is. He's a coward.
Yes, he is definitely a coward. And Kayla Montgomery, friends, I would not think that she would have the audacity to show her face inside that packed courtroom with not only Manchester Police Department personnel, but district attorney's office, and everyone who tried this case will be there. And I'm sure we'll hear from them and the victim impact statements and so forth. So yeah, actually the court TV feed shows the district attorney at this time. So let me let the rest of this finish, and we'll get to the super chats and we'll get to the court proceedings, because it looks like they're about ready to go.
Most of the trial.
I assume
Montgomery will have to appear in person after skipping most of the trial.
I assume the defense will try to emphasize the fact that, he admitted to abuse of the corpse. He admitted to the falsifying evidence, and he feels remorse.
Prosecutors argue Montgomery, quote, robbed Harmony and her family of the person she was going to become.
The years that they suffered not knowing what had happened to Harmony.
Legal experts say while it's unlikely, it's not out of the question that Montgomery could reveal if he knows where her body is.
The number one thing you could do to demonstrate that you have remorse is by revealing the location of her body.
Which we know he won't do, Ed. This guy's, like you said, he's a coward. And not only is he a coward, he has nothing to gain by giving up that information. He's got zero to gain by that. I'm monitoring the court TV feed. I have WMUR 9 also, which is a local feed. I'm monitoring everything. I don't see anything active at this time. All we see here is a live look into the courtroom with the American flag, and the judge's bench the judge's chair is straight below that. Let's go to the super chats, Ed, as we look at this. Jeff, we got to you. Angela, she sends in a super chat and she says, it would be amazing if he gave up the location of Harmony's remains. Yeah, but mark my words, he won't. He's an animal. He's a little bit more than an animal. He's a demon. We have a poll. Do you think Adam Montgomery will give a statement? Because as you know, Ed, most judges will say to someone, do you have anything to say before I sentence you? And let's see if he has something to say.
I think he will.
Yeah, because we saw him say it. He remember he pumped his chest out. I have that queued up. I'll save everybody. I'll spare everybody that bullshit. But he cocked his chest out and said, I look forward to defending myself in the horrible, disgusting charges against me. Get the... I won't even say it. Nancy D, thank you for being a member for 2 months. She said the wife knows she should tell where the baby girl is. She's referring to Kayla Montgomery. And I believe that she does know. You can't tell me that those two didn't communicate everything to each other. Adam, although she did testify that he was paranoid and that he thought the room was bugged. Remember all that stuff?
Yep.
So,
and he beat her.
Yeah, and he beat her. And that's not the first. That probably wasn't the last time he beat her. Mrs. JMD, DutyRon and Ed Wallace mods, Justice for Harmony. Member for over 16 months. So thank you, Mrs. JMD. So Trish, Italian Style, she sends in a super chat. Thank you for the super love. Trish, Italian Style says he punched her to death.
That's right.
Yeah. And then
that's right.
And then he filled her up he put her in a bag. Yep, he folded her up, put her in a duffel bag, as Kayla Montgomery testified to in court. That's why it is not disclosing info location. He is not sane.
Just think about how horrific this beating was, and she didn't die instantly. Okay, this was a painful, slow death.
Ed, I mean, you have been to thousands of crime scenes.
I've been to crime scenes just like this. But usually it was the mother's boyfriend that beat up the child, and over a course of days allowed the child to die from internal injuries without taking the child for medical care.
My God. Horrific in itself. Schmitty comes in with a $5 super chat. She's always reaching into that bag of hers. Thank you, Schmitty. Thank you for always being there for justice. I have missed being here. Much love and respect. Listen, we know Mom, we send Mom strength, prayers, positive vibes. We hope Mom, gets to recover and either get back at home or have a good quality of life. So we're sending you all of our best always, Schmitty. Thank you. Gifted 5. We got some gifting of memberships. Thank you for that, Mrs. James MD. Jeff says hi to Ed says, Jeff says, hi, hey Ed, when the monster stands before God, he won't puff himself out. Then remember Millstone. Thank you for that, Jeff. Amen to that. He's going to have to meet his maker. We are all going to have to meet our makers, whether you believe it or not. I feel that we all have to answer for our sins eventually at the end of everything. Ed, I'm monitoring Court TV. It doesn't look like there's any activity. So I have a ton of other things queued up that I could play while we're waiting. Let's go to the chat. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Do you think that I'm asking the chat this. Do you think that Adam Montgomery is going to make a statement? And is he going to state his innocence again, even though he was found guilty by a jury of his peers? They found him guilty on all the charges. We'd like to know what you guys think. I think I saw a couple more super chats come in. Sister Carol Ann Clark, who coincidentally was hacked a little while ago, probably a week or so ago. She sends a $20 super chat. She says, blessings for her little brother, Jameson. Thank you. Thanks for all you both bring to us. Blessings on the baby girl. Justice for harmony. Thank you, DutyRon and Ed. Thank you, Sister Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marcia Klepper, the wording is so small. Bring on prison justice. Thank you for that. Let's look at the live chat and see how everyone's going. The Finn is here. Let us know where you're watching while we're waiting, city, state, or country, and we'd like to say hello to you. And if you guys are new, again, let us know that you're new. If you're returning visitors and you're parts of this community, tell us where you are, and let's say hello to everybody. Newark, New Jersey was the first one that popped in. I saw St. Missouri, Chicago. Ed, we know, is in Morocco. So good to see you. Poughkeepsie, New York.
All right. Poughkeepsie, New York. You know what's up in Poughkeepsie?
Go ahead.
Vassar.
There you go.
Vassar. Yeah. Are you a Vassar girl, Lisa?
Pueblo, Colorado. Holla from San Diego. You know, San Diego is beautiful, Ed. I don't know if you've ever been, but the gas lamp district in San Diego, right where Petco Park is.
I walked around there.
I love the trolley. I love the gas lamp district. San Diego is beautiful. I love Seal Beach. I stayed at the Marriott right over there, and Janine and I are going to get back to California soon.
Sioux Falls. Okay,
yeah.
California, Alberta, Canada. Okay, what's that? We got Maine, new from Maine. Mary, nice, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody chiming in. Winter Springs, Florida. Newark, New Jersey.
Philly, PA. Higginsville, Missouri.
I saw a UK in there.
South Oz, Australia. Middlesex.
Look who it is. Michael Carbone, Mikey C, out in Suffolk County. Good to see you, Mike. Long time no see. Thank you for joining. Forget about
Middlesex
it.
County, New Jersey.
Here you go, Ed.
Belfast, Ireland. Slanta. And what do we got here? Rainy Nova Scotia, New Scotland.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Hey, listen. Again, I got a couple of other pieces that I could put up here. I want to just really look quick. Boston did some coverage early in the morning. NBC 10 Boston, but I really like there's a piece with Blair Miller on Court TV. It's 9 minutes long, so I'm not going to be able to play the whole thing.
It is absolutely heartbreaking.
But I want to play it. It's from Julie. It's with Julie Grant, and she interviews Blair Miller. That's it's the husbands together. They adopted Jameson, and she interviewed him about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
About everything that sweet child went through. And what's more is that there was a safe and loving family who wanted to adopt her. Joining me in the studio, a very special guest. I'm so pleased to call him my friend, my colleague, Blair Miller. Blair, thank you for being here in the studio with us. And I know this time isn't easy, and I truly can't say enough wonderful things about you personally and professionally. And our viewing audience has come to somewhat hear about your story. You've been on with us before, but I want to make this crystal clear that you and your husband, Jonathan, were willing to adopt Harmony along with her brother, Jameson, who you have adopted. What happened with Harmony? Why weren't you able to, Blair?
So when we went through the adoption process with Jameson, our third and youngest son, we instantly heard that he had a sister. And one of our first questions was, what's that situation? What are we looking at adopting 2 more children here? Or what's the situation? We were instantly told that he did have a sister. And we were told by him he had a sister. And they were very close. They were in foster care together, in and out of foster homes. And we were immediately told by the state of Massachusetts that Harmony had, that situation had already been taken care of. She had been reunified with her father, who is a different father than what Jameson has, biologically. And so we were told that was not an option. We continued to ask, what's that situation? Because it's important to Jameson. It was important to him. And so therefore it was important to us. And we had always said, if that door is open, we want to walk through it and figure out what's going on. Of course, now we hear everything. It's painful to hear it.
Oh, Blair, I can't even imagine. I've been saying the heartbreak, I'm sure your husband, Jonathan, feels, your boys, you and Jonathan, I say they're like angels on earth. They really are. They've adopted 3 beautiful little boys, all from different families. Jameson is the youngest. I mean, you have you have saved Jameson's life. And I think what is so tragic about this, you and Jonathan wanted to save Harmony's too, had it not been for Adam Montgomery asserting his parental rights.
Sure, and the timing here was, pretty unique because Harmony had already been reunified with her father back in February. And we adopted Jameson officially in August of that same year. And we look at the timeline of everything. When we officially did his adoption in court, and then his birthday was right after that. It was all around Thanksgiving, when now.
I'm going to stop it, Ed, because the judge is taking the bench. So let's go right over to our live feed.
Let's get it done.
We're getting it done, brother. Kudos to Court TV. All right. I'm going to have to go to my backup, which is Hey JB, because they got it. Here we go.
With a beard. And
backup, JB.
His defense attorneys delay and extended wait just make.
I want to see him walk in.
It's only natural to wonder, is there a reason for the holdup? Is there a reason that attorneys and the judge and Adam Montgomery aren't in the courtroom yet? Adam not being in there is not all that surprising, because Adam Montgomery being in there and everyone else seated there that is getting ready to read their impact statements, that just elevates the tension in the room significantly. And an extended delay and extended wait just makes it feel like unnecessary for everybody to have to sit there in silence all together. Not surprised that Adam isn't in the room just yet, but the attorneys, well, see, and then there I am talking.
Here we go.
Now
He's going to come
got
walking
some
in
folks
now.
filing in. Let's go full screen. Here is Adam Montgomery.
Take
Looks
that
like he's-
comment off.
Looks like he's gaining weight,
No
huh?
courtroom audio yet.
This scumbag. Yeah, he definitely bulked up a bit. Like I
And
said, you're
Adam
eating
Montgomery
shitty food
not
in
wearing
jail.
a traditional
Inmates
prison-
lift weights.
Yeah, he's not wearing traditional inmate garb either, as JB just alluded to there. Not the yellow. He's got a white T-shirt on. Just a real dirtbag. This is the view of a murderer right here.
Oh,
Be seated. Counsel approach.
is that a new tat on his neck?
There was a
Nah,
look back at the back of the room by Adam Montgomery.
Counsel again. Counsel sworn.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ben Agati for the state.
Caroline Smith with the public.
I want to go to Court
Last
TV.
time I'm popping in here, folks, we will, of course.
I'm going to Court TV, guys. Sorry.
For 20 and 216-2022 CR 272.
I love JB, but I don't want him to be
Good
interrupted.
morning, Your Honor. Ben Agati for the state. Personal officer.
Caroline Smith with the
Sorry
public.
about that, folks.
Gonna fix that
All right.
volume.
Good morning.
There's no
One moment,
volume
please.
as of yet. Yeah, the stuff, Wanda, you're right. I want to just see him without all the stuff up there. So thank you for that, Wanda. So as we're waiting for the feed to come in, we just heard the state and everybody. There's probably like a little sidebar going on, but this feed is great because it's right up on the defendant. And what we're looking at here is the face of evil. As I said, this is a demon. This is a man who took his daughter's remains and traveled all over different parts of the state of New Hampshire, and then arguably rented a U-Haul truck. And this is what the investigating theory is now, is rented that U-Haul truck and discarded her body along the route somewhere. And as we discussed last night, EquiSearch Midwest, along with the New Hampshire, Manchester Police Department, the state police, and some federal authorities are actively looking for Harmony's remains. And like you said, Ed, we don't know exactly what this scumbag did with her. He could have dumped her in a landfill. He could have dumped her anywhere. Look, we can't put anything past this guy, Ed. Look at what he did to her. Look at where he took her. I mean, am I off base on this or what?
Nope.
Yeah. So there's the same court officer, and look, he doesn't look this elderly gentleman here who's probably got a gazillion years on the job. God bless him. He's the courtroom bailiff, court clerk. We saw him on during the trial. He doesn't look like he's happy to be in the presence of this demon. But yeah, so I mean, we're hoping to just find her skeletal remains or something of her. We don't know how much was left after what he did, but. So let's look at the chat. Spoonless is saying he's barely blinking. Isn't that weird? Ed, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, what we do know is that he pulverized that child. He split her in half. And trigger alert if you didn't already know this. I mean, in order to stuff her in that bag, what he had to do to the skeletal system of Harmony is mind-boggling.
Despicable, disgusting, repulsive, and outright evil. I mean, these people sitting, is that Blair Miller right there? Yeah, that's the fathers right here. That's Blair and Jonathan right here, down at the bottom of the screen. Second row. So that is Jameson's parents. They are in the courtroom. So
maybe we have a change.
Yeah. Let me just take a listen to JB and see if he's got something. I'm going to go back to JB.
Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019.
This is the district attorney talking.
Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020 and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King and he beat her to death and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people? How can the minimums ever apply when he conceded at trial the crimes that involved the horrors that he inflicted upon her body from December 7th on forward up and until March, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he's being convicted for today. The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault which occurred in July of 2019. And that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life from the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor, if the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body,
holy shit,
sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years.
Holy shiitake mushrooms. This is huge.
Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic murderer of his own child. Now, as I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just given an opportunity, we're asking you to impose nothing less than 45 to life for the sentence of homicide. You should impose more, but 45 is a bare minimum that this defendant deserves for what he did to Harmony. She is gone forever. She didn't get sick and get old and pass away. Something didn't just happen that night. He happened. She wasn't able to be surrounded by the people that loved her. And instead, when this court determines punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation, it should consider that Harmony died in pain and in fear under a blanket. And nobody deserves that, especially a 5-year-old child. And that kind of death is different and weighs in favor of more than the minimum sentence here. You can, if there was a thief here, you could order the return of stolen property, or you could order restitution. When you sentence a defendant for an assault case, the victim can receive treatment and compensation for her injuries. But in a murder case, there's nothing directly that this court can do for Harmony. She's already ultimately paid the price of the defendant's anger and cruelty and frustration. But what can be done is recognize the value of her life and the terrible way she died by giving the defendant a significant prison sentence, something more than just the minimum, and certainly not the sentence that the defendant may ask you for in a few moments. You can make sure that he's not going to hurt another child. You can do that for Harmony. And in that process, you'll also be doing justice for the people who cared about Harmony, for the many people that worked hard to hold her killer accountable. Except most of those people, several of them are in the courtroom today. Many more are out there. Some who are present here today would like a chance to address the court, Your Honor. Most notably, and I think has to be first and foremost, Your Honor, is Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sorey.
Here
She's
comes
present
the
here
victim
today.
impact
She's
statements,
prepared
folks.
a victim impact statement that we have written that we can provide to the court afterwards, but we would like her to be able to speak to you and present her thoughts.
Should we do so?
Now, this is going to take a lot of strength.
Thank you. To the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told. Like the cover story you told that you dropped her off with me, knowing full well and good if you had, she would be thriving right now. Not beaten and stuffed in a CMC bag where you put her. She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me. Beautiful inside and out, funny, smart, sassy, loving, and most of all, kind. She wasn't a coward like you, and I'll be forever grateful for that. You're a coward who has to be in control of everything and everyone around you, insecure and paranoid. The list goes on. She is none of those things. She lit up a room when she walked in. She made a mark wherever she went, and you couldn't stand it. She was an incredible big sister. She loved her brother, Jameson, to her core, and I know she loved your sons too, no matter the picture you tried to paint of her. December 7th will forever be the darkest day of my life. The night you beat her to death, I woke up in the middle of the night in agonizing pain, from my head to my toes, and I felt like I was dying, not knowing, in the most brutal way, a part of me was dying. Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children, and you got high. 20 minutes that you could have used to save her life. Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, you're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony. You may have taken her physically from me, but she is always, always with me. And I will forever look for her until the end of my days. But I hope that every day and every night you're on this earth, you hear nothing but my baby's giggle. I doubt you ever heard it in this life. All she knew with you was misery and fear. I hope you hear her sweet voice telling you to stop hitting her over and over, or how she looked the very last time you saw her, broken and bruised. You were supposed to protect her, yet you did the opposite. Harmony wasn't anything to you but property that you could throw away when she was more of a burden to you than a meal ticket. Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs. My love for Harmony outweighs my hatred for you, but they both gave me the strength to listen to my instincts and to help the police put you away forever. Harmony will live on through me, and you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything to stop it. I wish you nothing but pain and misery for the rest of your pathetic life, and with or without you, we will find my daughter. I always knew you weren't a good person, which is why I left you. I just never knew to what extent, but now I know you're just plain evil.
another member of Harmony's family was Brittany.
Look at him, Ed. He doesn't give a shit.
Nope.
He just
I
gave
see
that-
nothing but defiance.
To the most vile human on the planet. The day Harmony was born is the day that will forever feel like it was just yesterday. My sister was in labor and you were in prison. Always keeping you posted. I remember that phone call with you right after she was born and they were both in the recovery room. I was talking you down from how scared you were because you just wanted to be the best dad. And I believed in you and reminded you how good you were with my daughter, that you would be the best dad and not to worry. I couldn't even believe how wrong I actually was. You are a monster, Adam, not the monster who's in your nightmares or the ones that terrify you when you're little. You're the monster that pretends to be a daddy and then brutally abused, tortured, and beat your 5-year-old daughter to death for the accidents you caused by locking her in a room 24/7, traumatizing her and making it blatantly clear that she could not trust, count on, or come to you when she needed someone. You didn't fight for her for 4 years like you had Kayla claim on your behalf. You lied and you forged documents. You did it to have control again over something in my sister's life. You never for 1 second loved Harmony because if you did, she'd still be here today. You wanted to control her, and when you couldn't, over and over again because she reminded you of my sister, you took her from us because you didn't want anyone else to have her. More proof of the absolute coward you are. The fact that you sat in court at your gun trial, like my sister said, and tried to use Harmony for some sympathy by saying you cannot wait to refute the offensive claims that you killed your daughter and you didn't and you loved her. Jury selection day, you showed up smiling at the jurors, proving exactly how evil you are. Then tell the judge the day of opening statements that you did all but kill her and expect a bunch of people to believe yet another lie from you. Because your egotistical ignorance makes you believe you are somehow smarter than anybody. You have the nerve to claim to be a victim of the disease of addiction and how it destroyed your life and all the crybaby stories you tell. The fact is this: you are a selfish, evil, conniving, poor excuse for a human being, and I hope you sit in prison every day while she haunts you day and night until it's unbearable, because that's what you deserve. I used to call you my brother. We used to talk about everything. I've seen you break down and cry and open your heart up to me. Even when you first got Harmony, I messaged you and I told you that I would help in any way if I can, if you needed it for Harmony and wanted to be a part of her life. And just like anyone else that reached out, you blocked me. You had so many chances to change the result and let her go with people that loved her, but you didn't because you knew she would have told all about the abuse, so you killed her. If you're any type of man at all, Adam, or you ever loved her for 1 second, you would tell us where she is, so at least she can rest in peace after everything you put her mind, body, and soul through. Regardless, karma will get even because you don't destroy such a beautiful soul the way you did and not reap what you sow. So may it be.
One of the other individuals in this particular event who is not present here in the courtroom today, but is the victim of the crime, that is the victim of the
Jameson.
crime of witness tampering, is Ms. Kayla Montgomery. She has prepared a statement.
Oh, shit.
We will be submitting that to the court as well. It has been provided to the defense counsel. She has asked a victim advocate to please read the statement for her.
If the victim advocate could please state her name for the record, and also
This is for Kayla Montgomery, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them. I will never forget the birth of our first son we have. That was one of the many best days of my life. We had just gotten married and started a family of our own. I'll never forget when your grandmother said to me, "You're the best thing that has ever happened to my grandson." I'll always remember the births of all the children we have. Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony. You worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited. Then, during the summer, was when we both started to go downhill because of relapse. After 5 years of sobriety, that was the beginning of the chaos. By the time Thanksgiving came around in the year 2019, we were losing everything. My job, our place to live, and after living in a car for a few weeks, we lost that. At the same time, Harmony dies because of your anger and hitting her so many times. We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony. Then you came and picked me up when my shift was done at 2 p.m. She wasn't in the car. She was with her mother. During those years of having to keep quiet, you started physically and mentally abusing me, accusing me of cheating on you, telling on you, and trying to kill you. The first time that you really hurt me was when you accused me of cheating and had me on the living room floor against the corner of the wall, telling me if I didn't tell you that I cheated on you, that you were going to F me up. When I never cheated on you and said that I didn't, you punched me right in the face a couple of times because you said I was lying, and I wasn't. So then I said, yes, I cheated on you so you wouldn't hit me, but you still did anyway. You started getting crazy when we would get high on crack. I told you I did things that I really didn't do because you said if I told you that I did whatever you'd accuse me of, that you wouldn't hit me, and I was dumb enough to believe you. No matter what I said or did, you would hit me, punch me, spit in my face, or would have me in a chokehold and cover my mouth so I couldn't scream. You were not the person I married, not the person who loved me and who never hurt me. It's like I married my father. I never would have thought I would have to run away from you until I knew I had to take our kids and leave you. I'll never forget that day either. It was one of the hardest things for me to do. The last couple of nights after you got arrested the first time, I was sleeping with a knife because I did not know what you were going to do to me. After I found out that you got arrested, I went back to our apartment to grab a few things, and then I made the decision of not going back to live there anymore. I couldn't stay in the apartment after a year of chaos with you in there. Just all bad memories, barely any good ones. We had about 5 months total that year of living there that were good times. Other than that, nothing but bad memories. I'm so angry and hurt by you. I know you probably hate me because I had to do the right thing, but also because of all the bad. Not only did you lose your rights to our children, but so did I. Now I'm going to have to keep fighting for them to at least be back in their lives. You seem to forget you cheated, not me, and you just left the kids and I for some girl, packed your stuff, and left to another state. I called you out on your BS when you were on your way to Maine, and I also called you out for being with someone else months before you left to Maine. You accused me, but you were the one cheating. The day you got arrested on January 2022, you called me and said to tell Kelsey you're sorry about her car. Yeah, right. That's all you're worried about, not your wife and children you may never see again. No apology for cheating on me and making me think I was crazy. So I got to do all I can to get back on track with my life. You caused so much hurt and pain. I don't even know why I still care about you and actually feel bad for you. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not a cold, heartless person and still have some care about you. I was in love with you once. Now I still love you because you're the father of our children. This is goodbye for now. Maybe I'll see you at the future in some
Please point. make
Goodbye,
this end.
Adam.
Make this
And then
stop.
she lists the day they started their relationship was October 8th, 2015. And the day they married was Harmony's birthday, June 4th, 2017.
Look at the prosecutor. He's disgusted.
Unbelievable.
That was despicable.
Unbelievable.
Not one mention about poor Harmony.
Oh, woe is me.
Heard from yet is with regards to a very young man. This is Harmony's younger brother, Jameson. He lived with Harmony up until the age of 1, saw her as late as 18 months in his life. Both of his parents are here, Mr. Blair Miller and also Mr. Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and they have a statement they would like to present.
All right, so they change your heart here now.
Your Honor, thank you so much for allowing us to speak here today. Good afternoon to you. My name is Blair Miller, and my husband Jonathan and I are here today on behalf of our son Jameson, who we adopted in 2019. He is a 7-year-old boy who came to us from foster care. Jameson and his sister Harmony were in and out of different foster homes together. They seem to be on a path of surviving their troubling relationships, their circumstances together. To understand the true impact that this loss has had on Jameson and will continue to impact him, you need to hear the stories he tells us and wants you to know. He wants everyone to know. When we first adopted Jameson, he would always tell us about Harmony. He would tell us about her beautiful blonde hair. He would tell us about her glasses. He still does. He would tell us about her bright blue eyes. He would tell us about her wonderful smile that lit up a room. He would tell us that she was there to help him. Jameson has constantly asked us, where's Harmony? Recently, he once was struggling to go to bed. He looked off in the shadows of his closet and said, is that Harmony there, looking back at me? These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H. He said that was Harmony looking down on us. Jameson constantly asks us, who took my sister away? Adam, you took away his best friend, his sister. You introduced murder into his life and forever created a void that can never be filled. We will never have the right answers for him on this and can only tell him Harmony is an angel now. Jameson will grow up forever wondering how this happened, how his sister, who looked over him in foster care, didn't have anyone looking over her. You chose, Adam, to take our little boy's sister away. You don't ever deserve another choice in a free society. Your Honor, we are asking you to impose the maximum sentence.
Your Honor, this courtroom, and especially Adam, I'm Jonathan Bobbitt Miller, and I'm the proud adopted dad of Jameson Miller, the proud young brother of Harmony. Harmony is the reason that we're all here today. Harmony, the child Adam that you murdered, you introduced a nightmare into our son. You introduced evil of this world to him. You have manipulated the criminal justice system until now, and trying to explain that to our 7-year-old son is hard. Before Jameson knew of Harmony's tragic fate, he would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, maybe she's found me. He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, are you Harmony? I'll never forget the day that we told Jameson that Harmony was in heaven. He's a very active kid, and that day he just stopped and he held us and he said, no, I need my big sister. Why? Why did this happen? These are questions that Jameson has had and continues to ask. Daddy and Dada, what happened to my sister? Why did she die? Why would anyone hurt her? How about her glasses? Were they okay? My God, how will we ever help him process this horrible and brutal details of his big sister? Adam, you have to know you did that. As we celebrated Jameson's birthday in 2019 with the Mickey and Minnie Mouse theme, we had Mickey Mouse there. It's a Disney theme that he shares with his big sister and his mom. He wanted to save a gift from her that day, made from his Nana. It was a Minnie Mouse pillow, but instead, you were beating her to death. That was the same day. If Jameson was old enough to speak to this court today, he would want you to know the void that you left in his heart that can never be filled. Adam, he would plead with you to please tell us where she is. Let him have a place to go and remember his sister, please. He remembers her feeding him. He remembers when they would be at his foster home when she was there, that they would play in the park together. He remembers her glasses. He remembers how proud she was. How do we tell our 7-year-old that you murdered his sister, his protector, his best friend, and you showed no remorse? I wish they could be happy together today. Jameson asked, is she unhappy in heaven? If she can see him, and if we can visit her, why would anyone hurt her? That's what you've done to her son when you beat his sister to death. In our family, we really believe in love and forgiveness. I'm just not sure how to teach her son how to forgive the monster that murdered his sister. We as a family are leaning on God for that. Jameson also knows about the helpers. He knows about this court. He knows about the jury. He knows about the police from the local to federal. He knows about this community. We've told him these were the people that helped his sister when she was hurting. I'd like to share with you a few words that Jameson, as we were talking to him, because he wanted to know, where are you guys going? What are you doing? And I said, we're going to speak for your sister, and we're going to tell everyone how important she was to you. And this is what he said. Tell everyone my name is Jameson. I'm 7 years old. My sister's Harmony. I love Harmony. I miss her. I hope I get to see her again. My sister had beautiful blue eyes, and we smile alike. I liked having fun with her on the playground. She gave me a broken Elmo toy that was hers. I still have that, but I have the Minnie Mouse pillow and a new Elmo that's not broken. I keep it in my closet for her. I'm really sad she's an angel. I miss her. She was my best friend. I hope she can see me playing basketball, being silly with my brothers. And I wish I could bring Harmony to my school to meet my friends and my teacher. She loves the color purple and Minnie Mouse. I made a heart for her in purple and red with mirrors so I can look for her in heaven. I hope she sees me. The red is for my heart and the purple is for her. I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven. I hope her glasses are safe and not broken. And I miss you, and I will always love you, big sister. Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow, that's a tearjerker there. Oh my God.
With us today is Harmony's foster mom, Michelle Rafferty. Harmony was alive for 66 months in this world. And for 44 of those months, she was with the Raffertys, Michelle and her husband, Tim. They've both prepared a statement as well and would like to speak with you today.
Your Honor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here today. This is truly the hardest thing I have ever had to do. My name is Michelle Raftery, and along with my husband and my 5 children, we have the privilege of being Harmony's foster family. We shared our hearts, our home, and our life with her, and she filled our lives with joy and laughter. We lost a daughter, and my children lost their sister. We grieve for her every day because we thought we'd always see her again. Harmony was full of life and always happy. We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. Harmony always had 2 mummies, me and Crystal, but only had one daddy, and that was my husband, Tim. I am beyond grateful Harmony had the relationship with a loving daddy and knew what that relationship should look like. She loved being a sister and had an amazing bond with our youngest daughter. And when our second daughter had her baby, she was delighted to be an auntie. Harmony was a friend to everyone, but she also had a best friend named Dominic. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle. She had a large community that she loved, and they loved her. She was kind and compassionate and always willing to share, even her Oreo cookies and favorite doll stroller. Since everything came to light, I have had trouble sleeping and concentrating. We had to explain to our children things that we never wanted them to hear, and explain to them why a father who was supposed to love and protect her was being arrested for murder. Your Honor, I'm asking you to give Adam the fullest sentence. Adam is hateful and selfish and continues to be so by not telling us where her body is. Adam knew he could have brought Harmony back to us. He had options, but always chose himself each time. He never put Harmony first. There were consequences for his actions, and he will have to live with them the rest of his life. Our family is strong and beginning to heal by the grace of God. We know Harmony is safe in the arms of Jesus, never to be hurt again. So despite the evil brought to light in this trial, we will continue to move forward in love because love wins. Thank you, Your Honor.
Beautifully said, Ed. Beautifully said. That woman was the best to Harmony. Really took good care of her.
I hope this asshole doesn't get up and make a statement.
To those statements, the state is asking you to consider not only all of the details and the facts that you heard during trial, and not only as you would for any defendant, their criminal
I'm glad he had to
history,
listen to all of that.
of which is laid out there and which this court is already well aware of. But we are also asking the court to take into account 2 additional charges which are still pending. Firearm that was belonging and was owned by a Mr. Ewell, and also a high point handgun. These are 2 charged but not yet adjudicated offenses that can be considered by the court when it comes to sentencing. We did not ask you to take the defendant's murder of his daughter into account at the last sentencing for the other firearms, given that it had occurred before her death. But these 2 not yet tried armed career criminal charges, offenses for weapons belonging to Mr. Ewell and a high point handgun, should be considered to show that the minimum does not apply to this man. The court is already aware of the defendant's statements to many other people, many other people through many different facets of his life, with regards to being asked where his daughter was and for him to lie to them. This was subject to many different interpretations. The court has discussed this on different events, different times, in different hearings. With regards to those events and with regards also to the gun crimes that I speak of, Mr. Ewell's firearm and the high point handgun, we feel that the state has already shown the requisite level of certainty that the defendant has be present from the Manchester Police Department, who can provide additional information if the court so chooses to hear that. So at this point, I would leave it up to the court's discretion if and when the court should be considering those 2 charges as part of coming up with the appropriate sentence for the defendant today. But he is here in the courtroom.
All right, thank you. I don't feel that I need to hear from him at this juncture. If the court feels it necessary to hear from him, I will do so later. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, one of the things that you saw during trial were the many different ways in which the defendant tried to conceal his crime, not just physically, but also with false statements and lies to others. Lies as to where she was, as to what had occurred, where it had occurred in the car, where he was at the time. Even lies, as you heard from some witnesses, as to whether or not he loved or cared for Harmony in the first place. You heard and saw the defendant try to sell his lies to anybody that would listen. And why does that matter? Because it's one thing to deny the charges that the state then can hold the state accountable to bring forth proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's another one to actively lie and deceive and blame others. And a defendant who does that, like this defendant did, is different and is deserving of more than the minimum punishment. You've even heard yourself how the defendant tried over and over again to get Kayla Montgomery to lie for him. The testimony we heard at trial included the verbal threats to her, beating her, photographs that we saw of her black eyes, testimony from other independent witnesses of him either hurting her or her running away, being injured, or grabbing a cell phone out of her hands and manipulating her even months later to get rid of telephones that had evidence of the crimes on them. You've seen those bruises. You've heard those stories from independent eyewitnesses. That was not just an attack on her. That was an attack on our system of justice. And to hold him accountable for that independently, consecutively, to the actual underlying crime of the homicide and the second-degree assault from before. As you've seen in this case, if we don't do that, if we don't hold people accountable for those actions afterwards, then the criminal justice system is failing because it allows defendants everywhere under the concept of general deterrence to think that they can tamper with witnesses and destroy evidence. And if they're caught, well, it'll just be subsumed by the underlying crime. That's another reason why the more than the minimum sentence is necessary. And finally, I'm not going to go into full detail on it, Your Honor, but you've seen in the state sentencing memorandum, there are 3 cases that are on point and when looking for comparison here. And those are State versus Caitlin Marin, State versus Mark Heath, and State versus Chad Evans, all cited in our sentencing memorandum. In those matters involved individuals who were convicted of reckless second-degree murder for injuring children. And all 3 of those individuals, either immediately after trial or at sentence review, all had sentences that were in their 40s. And all 3 of those people didn't have the criminal history that this defendant has. And all 3 of them didn't do afterwards to their victims and what they did to their bodies, what he did to Harmony. So in the state's mind, how can the defendant here get anything less for that? His behavior is worse. When we look at that, if and when he should ask for sentence review after today, if they look at that, we don't feel that there's any way that they could equate that his behavior was less than theirs or that his punishment should be less than theirs. There's nothing about this little girl's death or her suffering or what her father did afterwards that can ever be classified as minimal. He is still determined 5 years later that she have no peace, no justice, no rest. So the state is asking you to do what justice requires, and that's nothing less than the state's recommended sentence. Harmony deserves it, her family deserves it, the people of the state deserve it, and definitely this defendant deserves it. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
No, he deserves more.
Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, he deserves a firing squad is what this fucker needs.
Yeah.
I'd like to start reading from State versus Willie at 163 New Hampshire 532.
Come on, lady. Give me a
We
break.
held that just as it is unconstitutional to increase a defendant's punishment because he refuses to admit guilt, so too is it unconstitutional for a court to draw an adverse inference of lack of remorse from a defendant's silence at sentencing. Because the only affirmative way for a defendant who maintains his innocence through the criminal process to express remorse at sentencing is to forgo his right to remain silent. Using a defendant's silence at sentencing to infer that he lacks remorse generally violates the defendant's constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. The state said that their offer to reduce or offer a reduced sentence of 35 years if Adam Montgomery took particular action within the next 7 days, and his reaction to that reflected heartless, immoral, no remorse. You can imagine, anybody can, that somebody walking into a sentencing hearing for something where he maintains his innocence that he did not do would be a difficult situation. That person would be assisted by his counsel, who would understand that being vilified for something that you didn't do would be difficult, who would understand that when people are trying to throw him away forever for something that you didn't do would be difficult, and that he would be schooled in reactions and how to react and how to appropriately respond within this courtroom. The state was doing a stunt. They were seeking a reaction today from Adam Montgomery in the courtroom by their stunt for something that they said, give us 7 days. And then Mr. Montgomery, acting appropriate with his counsel's representation, was called heartless, immoral, and no remorse. Mr. Montgomery does not have to express remorse here. or something where he maintains his innocence. It would violate his constitutional rights against self-incrimination.
Good
And
God.
talk a little bit about the use of priors, as argued in the state's memorandum, to elevate what is a sentence as a mandatory minimum that is extraordinarily high, and it is high because anytime
Mandatory
a child
minimum?
dies, an innocent child dies, deserves a strong punishment. And the legislature has spoken with a mandatory minimum of that punishment. The lack of rehabilitation is what the priors are put on for. I don't think anybody can predict what another person would be like after 35 years of incarceration. To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family members, wives, who participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation, especially after what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence. The use of the remaining charges also are inappropriate here. You did not consider the charge of homicide at his prior sentencing on the armed career criminal charges that he faced May a year ago. But you did consider the armed career criminal charges, or at least you didn't indicate that you didn't. And the state certainly.
Let me just say this. This is what a defense attorney is supposed to do. So I get that everyone wants to crucify her, and I'm not sticking up for her in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying this is part of our judicial system, and this is what they have to do to give their client fair representation. And as much as that sounds like shit, and as much as we all don't like that, this is what we're afforded under the Constitution of the United States. And that's all I got to say about that. Ed?
Sound like Forrest Gump there, and that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, this is bullshit. I get it. It's her responsibility. It's defense. You know, the judge has already made up her mind. All right, this is all theatrics at this point.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a waste of time. Just
okay.
Get to the sentence. Put this demon, put him under the jail or the prison. Get him the F out of here. Nobody wants to look at him. Give him the sentence and let him rot from the inside out.
Charge that you sentenced him on, you suspended 2 years. Didn't even totally give him the max on that, but certainly increased his sentence in your evaluation of his prior conduct, as well as the pending gun charges. Another issue I need to address, and I'm afraid we only addressed part of it in chambers, my fault. The names of the no contact order I don't have, so we don't have a position on that as far as the names. However, since the state has asked for an incarcerated sentence on each of the charges, I don't believe a no contact order can be issued on the charges under interpretation of current law. However, I will say that the names will be provided to Adam, and I can assure this court that Adam will not seek any contact with.
Well, if she doesn't make these statements, like, she would be charged with ineffective counsel and grounds for appeal.
Right. And we don't want that. We don't want to see this guy's face anymore. We just want to, him to take charge, get him the F out of here, and like I said, rot inside your cage from the inside out.
I does not dispute the time sought by the state for abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. The state has requested maximum sentences on that consecutive, and Adam does understand that it affected the investigation and that behavior affects justice in the court system.
You and me
he
both,
does
sister.
not dispute
You and me both.
sentences requested by the state on that. However, while he maintains his innocence, he also knows that you will be sentencing him on the other charges because he has been convicted. And any other action he takes will have to be after sentencing. So as to the other charges, while he maintains his innocence on each of them, he can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them, but he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum and especially his silence here at sentencing as being an appropriate position.
So we just got the answer to our question that we have in the poll. Do you think Adam Montgomery is going to make a statement? She, right from the get-go, right out of the jump, she said he is going to maintain his right to remain silent.
Current with abuse of corpse and falsifying evidence. Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions, but eventually he pulled it together and he was able to say goodbye to his daughter. And that's what he did. I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
The jury said otherwise, madam.
Yeah, he's found guilty by a jury of his peers, and there's nothing you could do to help him.
Now, if she would have said, Adam says this, instead of the way she presented it, as if she is saying, in her opinion, he is not guilty.
Actually,
does he want to say something? Are they sidebarring here to?
my co-counsel has reminded me of something, and again, this was
Oh,
something
come
that
on,
was
Lynn.
not in the sentencing memorandum, and it was last minute, and it is the stunt that was pulled by the state, and it is
Stunt?
that plea offers, responses, negotiations are inadmissible, and I think that they are inadmissible for any purpose, including sentencing. Certainly, I know in other cases, if I was to say the state offered something pretrial and now they're seeking twice that, the state would shut me down under that rule. 410? 410. So I think that entire stunt should be stricken from the record as well.
Briefly, Your Honor, I made no such comment about plea offers that were made prior to trial in any way, shape, or form. When I called the defendant heartless, immoral, selfish, and unapologetic, and in doing so, it's about the two crimes that he has admitted that he has done. It's the falsifying physical evidence and it's the abuse of corpse,
Right.
which he admitted and even told the jury that they could find him guilty of. Those are the ones relating to the placement of the body. There's no reason to hold on to that piece of information with regards to that. The statement is not offering anything because this completely lies within the hands of the court. The statement is to make the change of what the state's recommendation would be. It's not an offer of a guaranteed sentence in any way, shape, or form. And again, it's on those charges, the one where he does not maintain his innocence anymore, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. I think just separately, Your Honor, with regards to the victims that the state is asking for the no contact order, that would include Crystal Sorey and her family, Sorey. That would also include the Miller family, Your Honor, and that would be Harmony's brother's family, and as well as the Rafferty family. I can provide those spellings to the court monitor afterwards. I think those are the only additional things that the state wants to add.
Attorney Gotti, what do you say to the state v. toll issue that's raised by the defense about the no contact order on stand committed sentences, where all of the sentences that you're asking for in this case are stand committed, but you're also asking for the no contact provision?
Your Honor, I think with regards to that, rather than to prolong this particular hearing, the state would then also ask for a $5,000 fine on each felony for that to be suspended for the period so that the no contact order can be obeyed during that time period. And if he violates the no contact order, then that could be imposed.
Suspended for what period?
I would say suspended for a period of, well, on the 2 Class B misdemeanors, I would say suspended for at least a period of 7 years upon the beginning of that serving of that sentence. And for the charge of second-degree murder, I would say beginning on for a 20-year time period, beginning when he starts serving that sentence.
And she's going to get up. Here she
Do you want to
goes.
address that, Attorney Smith? I'm just thinking about that for a moment. I mean, Attorney Gotti, on that, the violation of the order would be the imposition of the fine.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
For clarity in sentencing, I think 5,000 is illegal for any one of those charges, although certainly
Illegal?
combinations of certain charges can equal that amount. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because as I said, with regard to the family, Crystal Sorey and her family, Mr. Montgomery will not be reaching out to any of them.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Counsel, approach for just a minute.
All right, so it's a little sidebar. I just want to give you guys a little fun fact here. Judge Amy Messer, she's been on the bench for 8 years. She's Supreme Court Justice. She was appointed April of 2016, and she was confirmed in May of that year. So she's just 8 years on the bench here. Not that that makes a difference. I'm just giving you guys a little bit of facts about this judge.
Montgomery, again, we have the attorneys on both sides approaching the.
You know, I find it so odd and off-putting, Ed, for the legal aid attorneys to say that the state put on a ruse here and that this stunt, as they refer to it as, that there was nothing wrong with that. You just don't see it often. You don't often see a district attorney say to somebody, if you give us the location of the remains of our victim here, we will we'll give you the minimum on one of the charges. He wasn't taking off the table a lot. He was giving them a break on some of the charges and taking one of the charges, sentencing, off the table. But he was looking at 35 instead of 56 to life.
Well, like he's maintaining his innocence, and this defense attorney is going to appeal. So if he were to give up the location, okay, that that would impact his appeal. So right. he's going to say, I'm not going to say anything, okay. But I'm shocked because I thought he would say, I didn't do this.
From the state.
All right, let's listen.
Thank you.
Nothing further from you, Attorney Smith. No, Your Honor. All right.
Good.
I'm going to take a 15-minute recess. So
Christ. Are you
all
kidding
the
me?
information and statements that have been provided, and then I'll come back and announce my sentence.
15 minutes? Wow. I'm floored. Never saw this before.
I would have thought by now she was ready to go, and this was all.
This is nonsense.
Uh-huh.
But I think that one point that was brought up by the defense, she's now going to go do some studying. And again, she's been on the bench for 8 years.
A lot of twists and turns, and now 15 minutes to break down exactly what we have learned in the last hour plus. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks. JB here with you live across all platforms. We are 15 minutes away from the sentencing portion of today's court proceeding. A sentence that could range
and I want to mute this for a second.
Years
what do you think that she's going to now go and look at? And I have a feeling it's about what the defense brought up as
Yeah, she's gonna,
illegal. As she when you start using those words in court, saying illegal, I think that the judge now is going to go look at case law and make sure she dots her I's and crosses her T's. What do you think?
100%. Yeah, 100%. No judge likes to be overturned. All right.
Yeah.
So she's gonna look research to. She's probably got her clerk doing it right now, researching the case law involved in the objections the defense has made, and then I mean, listen, she could have got out there and said, look, oh, I'm going to ignore all of this, and here's the sentence. Right. But she's not doing that. She's going to go back and she's going to look at this and come back and say, give her ruling. I mean, I think she's going to throw the book at this guy. But she may ignore some of the things that the prosecutor has asked for. Because, to be quite honest with you, she doesn't need any of those things that the prosecutor has asked for in this case to give him the maximum.
Let's take a second to go back and listen to what the district attorney said in the beginning, because now we have time to listen to this replay. So
ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man.
I just want to
What
listen to it
parole
because it
could
really
look
was
like.
not a lot. All right, here we go.
Pardon? Just making sure you're ready for the state to proceed.
Yes.
Okay. When you are ready, Attorney Gotti, you may proceed.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a replay of what the district attorney, the prosecuting attorney, the offer that he made. And this is why we have this 15-minute recess, because the defense is challenging this. So let's listen to this, because this is probably about 3 minutes. So this is from the beginning.
Your Honor, as you know, the defendant has been found guilty of beating Harmony Montgomery in July of 2019, guilty of murdering Harmony Montgomery, a child under the age of 13, and then transporting and hiding and abusing her body and compacting her into smaller and smaller bags and ultimately disposing of her on March of 2020, and tampering with witnesses afterwards to ensure that this horror story that we heard at trial stayed silent. Under our law, after the second-degree assault, after what he did to her and the other crimes to hide other acts to hide his crimes, under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive for second-degree murder of a child under 13 is at least 35 years in prison. So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man? How can the minimum ever apply when he beat Harmony the night before and the morning of, and time again as he drove from the methadone clinic to Burger King and he beat her to death, and then covered her up to suffer and die in the car while he ate his food? The state's position is, how can the minimum ever apply when this court recognized at the last sentencing hearing that he had 15 years of convictions for, quote, some of the most violent and egregious criminal behavior, end quote, that this court had ever seen? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again that he didn't kill his daughter and that she was safe somewhere when he was first asked by many different people? How can the minimums ever apply when he conceded at trial the crimes that involve the horrors that he inflicted upon her body from December 7th on forward up and until March, when he dumped her from the U-Haul that he had conned others into renting for him? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest? There's nothing minimal about the crimes that he's being convicted for today. The state is not going to restate everything that's put forth in the state's sentencing memorandum word for word. The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019, and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the abuse of corpse misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating his spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life from the charge of second-degree murder. The state recognizes that this is just a recommendation. The decision today lies with the court, regardless of what the state says. But that's the state's recommendation today. However, Your Honor,
Here we go.
if the defendant will right now
This is why we are at a recess right now.
tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years.
So it was that statement that brought the defense team to come forward and say, this was unlawful for them to do this. He was just offering him the minimum, and for the other sentences in the other lesser charges to run concurrent. And that's what I took from this. And there's where the argument came into play, is that she was saying that it was unlawful for him to do that. And they're going back and forth, and we're watching the court now, Ed. Again, legal, as I say, legal mumbo jumbo is what this is. This is legal mumbo jumbo, and it's costing the court time. It's costing us to sit here and have to wait, and more importantly, the family and everybody that's in that courtroom that are there just to hear the sentence. Give them the maximum, get them the hell out of there. But that's this is our system, Ed.
Yeah, I don't think she needs 15 minutes to figure this out. Okay.
No.
So, I mean, we had, we had the Paul Ferguson sentencing. We had his mother.
Yep, Shonda.
His mother's sentencing. There was victim impact statements. There were statements by the prosecutor, statement by the defense. And, I don't think this is necessary to go back. I mean, the judge could ignore everything that was said here by the prosecutor and the defense and say, here's my sentence.
Yeah. And again, I brought up that she's 8 years on the bench. I didn't do that to, minimize her experience, because she's got a lot of experience. And I'm surprised that, given the fact that her courtroom was disrespected by this defendant, by not showing up, by refusing to even answer. They were waiting until the morning, because remember, she was talking about, well, we need to know at 6 o'clock in the morning who's going to be on the bus and the scheduling and so forth. So he wasn't even giving them answers, and she was being patient with him and saying, hey, to the attorneys, to the defense attorneys, could you let us know if Adam's going to be coming? And then it stopped after, I think, day 2. But you know what? Go ahead. Go.
No, I mean, the judge wasn't blindsided by this. All of this stuff, what the defense was going to say, what the prosecutor was going to say, was put in writing and given to the judge prior to this. So, I mean, all parties involved here knew what was about to go down.
Yeah, and that's what makes it just equally as ridiculous. Like, we're all just sitting here now. Everyone's just sitting here waiting for her to come back. Okay, I get it. The judge wants to dot her I's and cross her T's legally. She doesn't want to put herself in a bind where there's some kind of issue. And I respect that. I get it. But like you said, it's not going to take, it shouldn't take 15 minutes. And I'm looking at, let me just look at the live feed. I want to just hear just a tad bit more of this, because there was a little bit more after this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ed.
No, I am more pissed off about the victim's quote unquote the victim's statement
from Kayla.
Yeah, I mean it's just more proof to me why she should still be in jail.
Yeah, and you know, she wrote that victim impact statement when she was out of jail. I would guarantee that. That was not written when she was behind bars. That was written when she was on the other side and free. And you got to really get a good look. That parole hearing where she was like, I'm going to do my best to be honest, and I'm going to do my best to be a good human, and I'm never going to lie again. It's bullshit. You know, once a liar, always a liar. And I feel like, you know,
she's treating herself as the victim in this case when the victim is Harmony.
Harmony.
And in her statement, it was me, I, and nothing about Harmony.
Not one thing about Harmony. It was nothing in her statement. It was sad and it was horrible what happened to Harmony. I should have been a better person. There was no way. She did not take any acknowledgement. She did not take any acknowledgement for her faults, and there was nothing. It was all about me and my relationship. She had the audacity to say that she still loves Adam and she feels sorry for him. Did you catch that? She said she still loves him and it feels sorry for him.
And she hopes, you know, I think she said she hopes she'll see him again.
What in the actual, you know, F here? It's just unbelievable. But I want to listen just a tad bit more of this.
Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic murderer of his own child. Now, as I was saying again, there's certainly nothing minimal about what he did to Kayla Montgomery, to abusing her into lying for him. There's simply nothing minimal about what the defendant did to Harmony and what he did afterwards. And that's why now, having just given an opportunity, we're asking you to impose nothing less than 45 to life for the sentence.
So, I mean, that's where we're at. And we're still waiting for the judge to come back on the bench. I'm going to go to the live shot. To help. JB is still giving his commentary. Put your questions to Ed or myself, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Let's go to the chat. You guys have been hanging out here with us for almost 2 hours, and I can't believe this has taken 2 hours. Of course, the victim impact statements, they were lengthy. And listen, hearing from Blair Miller and his husband, Jonathan, and hearing from Crystal and hearing from the foster mom, I thought that was great. The aunt gave a great victim impact speech. Crystal did a great job to, really hitting it right home, right in his face, and the only disappointment was Kayla's. I could not get over that Kayla Montgomery did not take 1 ounce of acknowledgement, and that, I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise to us, Ed. But because we saw how she acted in that parole hearing, but it still was shocking to hear that victim's advocate read that statement out, right?
Yeah, I saw disgust in the prosecutor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like we got some movement in the courtroom. I saw some heads moving around. Hopefully the judge is going to be coming back up on the bench. I know I'm at work, so I have limited time. I would hate to end this, but you know what I would do? I would probably just let it play and walk away from it. But so I have another 20 minutes here, and I know that you're probably on a time schedule too. You have to have dinner. But let's see. I think courtroom is no. It's still they're still in a recess. You know, it worries me when it takes this long. Like you said when we first went to this break, you said it should be quick, but it worries me when it's taking more than we're approaching 15 minutes right now. So let's look at the chat and see what everyone's saying. Um, hold on, I got to scroll back because this chat is moving fast. Hold on. I can wait 15 minutes if it lessens. Hold on. Erica says I can wait 15 minutes if it lessens the chance of an appeal. Absolutely, I agree. Take your time, dot your I's, cross your T's. But good gravy. You know, like you said, she should have just took it all into consideration and then said, "Hey, here's my sentence."
Well, I mean, as I said, the defense and prosecutor usually put in writing what they're going to do at these hearings. Okay, and so she should have, if she should have known there may be these objections by the defense, and she should have had a clerk already researching this stuff. So it should be a quick read, and then she'll have to make a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tammy Donaldson says, I don't think I've ever watched a trial that the sentence has taken this long. Yeah, this is not normal, that's for sure. But again, nothing about this case is normal. Paula sent in a super chat and she said, he is evil. Kayla is evil. Please God, may she never be near a child again. But there's no guarantee for that, because who's going to watch her? Who's going to make sure she's not near children ever again? We know we can't rely on the state. They've already failed Harmony Montgomery. She's dead because all of the fail stops that were in place failed Harmony. So how are we to know that she's going to be? The state's going to ensure that she is not around children ever again. I can guarantee you she will be. Beverly,
well, her own words, right? I mean, she lost the custody of her kids, and she was told to stay away. And you see, she's going to try and fight and get back those kids.
Yeah, I agree. She's not going to not do that. That we are going to be following this thing closely, and we're going to see it. Bevan, thank you for the $10 super chat. We appreciate the support. Michael Joseph Murray, thank you for the super sticker and always sharing on our Facebook groups. Greatly appreciated. Let's take a listen to what JB's talking about. He's probably just chatting it up with everybody.
That was read, and that really, it's interesting. The reaction to Crystal was just love and support in our comment.
Oh yeah, same thing here.
Purple hearts, just it was like a waterfall of purple hearts in our comment section. The reaction to the reaction to Kayla and that letter being read was I think a mixture of confusion and frustration. And maybe that's me putting it lightly.
You're putting it kindly.
The reaction to
he can't say what we say over here. It was bullshit. And Kayla was a me, all about me. She couldn't give a rat's ass about Harmony Montgomery. She did not mention her one time in that so-called victim impact statement.
Well, I mean, no, she did mention him because, we were so happy when we got her and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah, but it was about the two of them is my point, is that she made it about her and Adam and the failures of them both. But she really laid the more of the blame on him, when in fact, when you do things as a couple and you're married as a team, you're both responsible for the actions that happen to your kids. So
I mean, she is with him when they're toting this dead child around from location to location, and her statement is like, was just about. you didn't treat me right, and you did this and you did that. But you were still with him when you're toting a dead child around.
Yeah, knowingly. You were cutting clothes off of her. She cut
So
clothes.
it didn't matter that he killed his biological daughter.
Yeah.
And you had 2 children by this animal.
Oh, so frustrating. Little Patty says, DutyRon and Ed, will he be able to appeal? Absolutely. That's attorneys automatically put in appeals sometimes, and most of the times, because if you could throw whatever you throw up against the wall, whatever sticks. And that's just part of the process. You could definitely look for an appeal. And I think it happens in 99.9% of these sentences. Let's see. We are inside of a 15-minute break. Yeah, we are outside of a 15. We're beyond 15 minutes right now. So yeah, a lot of these comments coming in are redundant. No death penalty in the state of New Hampshire. It hasn't been on the books in years. But I'm looking at our chat here. Let's go to our chat. I'll keep an eye on JB to see when the court comes back up. Kayla had 3 children with him. Yeah. I mean, she's going to be looking to get around these kids. And I'm telling you that there's going to be nobody. A couple of years go by, Kayla's going to be on her own. Once her supervised release from parole is over, whenever that is. And even with supervised release on parole, I know because I worked in that parole task force here in New York. You can't follow everybody 24/7. You could check on them, but you don't know what they're doing in all of that off time when they're not being checked up on. So sickening in a way, because she's going to get to go out and enjoy life. She should not be free. And she's a danger. She's a danger to society, in my view.
Oh my God.
She's extreme danger.
And if anybody should never have children again, she's it.
Yeah. But look, Chef Lady says, oh, I think she's going to be 5 years strict parole. Even the strictest of parole, and I highlighted the wrong comment because the comments are going really fast. But Chef Lady, thank you for that. Even the strictest parole supervision, they can't watch you all the time. You're not being watched 24/7. And all it takes is a couple of hours for her to travel and move about and get around these kids. And I guarantee you, she will see those kids. And she shouldn't. She shouldn't be able to. Let's hear if JB's got anything.
I don't think that there's going to be the opportunity for parole. I think the sentence is going to be the sentence. We've eclipsed 500 votes, by the way.
Yeah, no parole for Adam Montgomery. Absolutely not. No. Ed, why the hell is it taking this long? We don't know. Hopefully the judge comes back momentarily. I love that all of these comments, I'm looking at them and they're moving by so quick. People are complimenting, saying love the take, love our take on this. Look.
Okay, she's back on the bench.
She is back. Ed, you got good eyes, Ed. No audio as of yet.
The crimes that you have committed and the harm that you have caused cannot be overstated. You took a human life, and you did so in the most.
Yikes.
You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother. You were convicted of reckless second-degree murder. Reckless in this context does not mean something that was an accident. It is defined under law as something that manifests the extreme indifference to a human life. Your extreme indifference to the value of the human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case. In 2019, you beat Harmony. In the words of your uncle, her eye was fully black and blue like a raccoon eye, is what he said. Your words when asked were, quote, I bashed her around the effing house. and then you hid her from the view of others, and you kept her from those that came to help her. On the date that you murdered her, you didn't hit her once, you punched her in the head repeatedly. You beat her in the car while at stoplights, more than one time. You knew that she was severely injured, yet you covered her with a blanket and didn't check on her until after you took her lifeless body from the car. And then, after her death, you treated her body like it was trash, worse than trash. You did unimaginable things to her body, and all in an effort to save yourself from being discovered as her murderer. And then, on top of that, you threatened, abused, and beat your wife to keep her silent. Your criminal history similarly reflects your extreme indifference to the value of human life. Your actions having taken both a physical and emotional toll on so many. In 2008, you were convicted of criminal threatening after pointing a knife at a 15-year-old girl. In 2010, you were convicted of armed robbery and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in a home invasion incident in which it was reported that you held up a woman at gunpoint, terrorizing her to the point that she lost control of her bodily functions. In 2009, you were convicted of first-degree assault for stabbing another person. In 2014, you were convicted of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and larceny in a case in which it was reported that you shot a man in the face. In 2019, you were convicted of 2 counts of armed career criminal, 2 counts of theft, and 2 counts of receiving stolen property, all of the charges stemming from the thefts of firearms, guns, exchanges of guns for drugs and money. The court has to consider 3 primary goals of sentencing: punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. The focus today is on your convictions in this case: second-degree murder, falsifying physical evidence, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and second-degree assault. But the prior convictions are important, and they're important as well, as each of them reflects not just your extensive criminal conduct, but each of them represents an opportunity after sentencing for you to have changed the trajectory of your life, to change how you were treating other people. But you were either unwilling or unable to do so. And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others. In light of the egregious nature of the crimes of which you have been convicted in this case, and taking into consideration your extremely violent criminal history, the court finds the only way to do this is to keep you off the streets. To the extent you seek to rehabilitate yourself, that will have to happen behind the prison walls. Harmony was an innocent 5-year-old girl. You treated her in the worst of possible ways, in both her life and in her death. Therefore, the court sentences you as follows. On charge ID 2027112C, the charge of second-degree murder, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. That sentence is stand committed. That sentence is consecutive. All of these sentences, I should say now, are consecutive to each other, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving.
He's going to die in prison.
Additionally, you're to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of this sentence. This is also consecutive to the second-degree assault charge in the docket ending in 20. That is charge ID 1937947C. Do you have any questions about that sentence?
Nope.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence. On this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges that I'm about to read you, as well as
consecutive to the second-degree assault charge and the docket ending in 2-0 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You do have the obligation, as with the other sentences, to meaningfully participate in programming as directed by the correctional authority or probation. Parole, you're ordered to be of good conduct and comply with all the terms of that sentence. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. Again, this sentence is consecutive to the additional sentences that I've read to you that I'm reading to you in this case, as well as docket ending in 2-0 and the sentences that you are presently serving. You have the same obligations for participation in programming, and law enforcement may return evidence to its rightful owner. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. And on this charge, you will also have the provision of a no contact order, and that is no contact with the Sorey family, the Miller family, and the Rafferty family. That sentence is also consecutive were it to be imposed to all of the other sentences in this case and the sentence you're currently serving. On the second degree assault charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years. This sentence is consecutive to the sentences in docket 216-2022 CR 2372. This is charge ID 1937947C. On this charge, you have the additional requirement, as you have in the other cases, to meaningfully participate in programming. Law enforcement agencies may return evidence to its rightful owner, and you're obligated to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. Do you have any question about those sentences?
No, I do not.
All right, before you go, counsel approach, please.
Here's my question, Ed, and I asked this, and now I'm not trying to be funny. Why in God's name was this guy out after 20 different arrests for violent crimes? Our justice system is broke. Why the F was this man able to walk the streets and kill his own daughter when he should have been behind bars?
Exactly, and that's why it's a joke for his defense attorney to say that he can probably rehabilitate. Are you kidding me? He's a recidivist. He's a recidivist.
This is the exact reason why our criminal justice system sucks, is because there are people like Adam Montgomery.
Hold on.
There will not be an obligation for those in these matters. The clerk will now address you regarding sentence review.
You're hereby notified that you have the right to apply for review of the state prison sentence imposed on you on May 9th, 2024. The application may be filed within 30 days after the date of the sentence, but not thereafter except for good cause shown. If you file such an application, your sentence will be reviewed by a board of 3 members who will be either judicial referees and/or superior court judges. Review of the sentence may result in a decrease or increase of the minimum or maximum term within the limits fixed by law, or there may be no change in the sentence. A form for making application, if you wish to do so, is set forth below. Mr. Montgomery, this applies for both cases 216-2022 CR 20 and 216-2022 CR 2372. I'll leave those with you.
Now, get back to the judge.
Yeah.
She didn't take that 15 minutes to write that speech. That was already done. Her sentencing was already made up.
Agreed.
Okay, right. So, I think again, is there some?
Anything further from you, Attorney Smith?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, everybody.
She had already made up her mind about the sentencing. The 15 minutes
Agreed.
really was not necessary.
No, she just wanted to look at the case law and stuff like that. These are all the people in the courtroom. The audio now is cut off. So they're going to just be piling out. But I'm just be curious to see if there was any statements from the district attorney after this is over. But listen, this has been 2 hours and 20 minutes of really, really agonizing, like listening to Kayla's statement, listening to this defense attorney. It really, really is. It's trying. It really tugs on your heartstrings, and it makes you angry. We have so many people angry in the chat. But the main things here, the takeaway is from a law enforcement perspective, is the justice system, the criminal justice reform of 2020, and all of these light approaches on these repeat offenders. There's a problem. And the problem happens to us, the good, law-abiding citizens of society, and are weak and vulnerable. Our children, as we see here with Harmony Montgomery, our elderly, and everybody in between becomes victims of crime from guys like Adam Montgomery because of the revolving door of letting people who do violent crimes, they should not get second chances. They should be locked up for a long period of time. And there's no reason Adam Montgomery should have been out on the street. There is no reason.
Absolutely, 100%. And for those of you who are asking, so what is the sentence? He's going away for life without the possibility of parole.
I wrote it down. 45 years to life on the second-degree murder, consecutive to each other, and that is 60 years of his gun charges. So she was specific about it. So he has 60 years already, and now, here's Crystal Sorry. Hold on.
Adam being 34.
Oh, no, okay. That was an old one. All right. 60 years he's already sentenced to. That he's in prison for 60 years. He just got added 45 to life, and then a whole bunch of other consecutive charges. He's in his 40s. He's never getting out. He's going to rot in jail. He's going to die in prison from either old age or from somebody getting a hold of him. So on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, this has been extended coverage. There's really not a lot more to speak about. Make sure if you're not subscribed to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, share this video so people can see it and get it out there. Ed, like I said, Ed's chiming in with us from Morocco, and he takes time out of his schedule. He's not vacationing, he's working in Morocco. So thank you, Ed, for taking 2 hours and 20 minutes of your time. It's valuable. We didn't anticipate this, Ed, but we never know what these live streams are going to entail. So
hey folks, thanks for being with us. Thanks for hanging in there with us. You have your choice of true crime channels to be at, and you chose to be with us, so we thank you. Spread the word about us. Thank you for continuing to support us. With that said, always be safe, be prepared, and watch your six. I gotta run.
Amen, Ed. I'll see you soon, and we love you. Thank you, Ed.
Justice for harmony, folks. Justice for harmony. You saw it here.
The Purple Hearts. Thank you, Ed. Love you. We'll talk to you soon, brother. All right, guys. I got to end it because I got to get out of here from work, but I want to go to the super chats real quick. So Bev Ann, thank you. Michael Joseph Murray. I was saying let's flood the chat with Purple Hearts, and I want to thank you, the live chatters, for flooding our chat with those Purple Hearts for harmony. Justice has been served today. Adam Montgomery, that scumbag, is now locked down. I hope he rots from the inside out. Thank you, Heather, whatever, for the super chat. Beth, thank you for the super love. I appreciate you, Beth. Super sticker, that's $20. Thank you. And thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Amy, please, guys, support us through membership. Support us any way you can. Watching, subscribing is free. Watching the videos, we greatly appreciate you. This has been extended coverage of Adam Montgomery's sentencing. And here's some of the pictures that we would say this is what you want to continue to remember when you think of Harmony Montgomery. You want to remember her. You want to remember the people who came out for her. And you also want to take into consideration, being kind and supporting the families that are left behind, like the adoptive parents, Blair Miller and his husband, Jonathan. Jameson's going to need a lot of help, and Crystal Sorey as well. Go easy on her. It's really a difficult time. So I want to thank you all for being here. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all victims of crime and their families. They need us now more than ever. Let's send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community. We love you and we thank you. Peace and love, guys.